I mentioned on a previous video that I was going to be using this bag of apples from 2017, from September 1st of 2017, so a little over 7 years ago. And a viewer, Stuntman 762, I think, asked, could I do a test with the oxygen absorber out of the bag to see if it's still working, and if so, how effective is it still? So I've done that video. It's coming up, but the short answer is, in case you don't want to watch the how I did it and all of the details, because it's a little long and boring perhaps, the bottom line is that yes, it's still working. It absorbed about 1,000 cc's of oxygen so far. Test is still going to see if it'll do more. I think it was a 500 cc oxygen absorber. And the important thing with an oxygen absorber as to how long it will last in the bag is the bag itself. The oxygen absorbers won't go bad if they're protected from oxygen. So if you have a bag that keeps the oxygen out, the oxygen absorber is still going to work. I still need to do a little bit more testing to satisfy some of the science pieces that I missed on this first set. But it's looking very promising, and like I said, it was a 500 cc oxygen absorber. It's absorbed a total of about 1,000, including the original bag that it was in for 7 years, assuming no extra air or oxygen made it through the bag during that time. So I'm just judging or counting the amount that was originally in the bag, and then the testing apparatus. And you've probably seen the testing apparatus on the videos before on how I test my oxygen absorbers, because we test the boxes of them 2 or 3 times during each box to make sure that they're still working fine. We've never had a bad one, but I don't like to not test just in case something went wrong. So the short version is, yes, it worked fine. It's still working fine. And if you want to see what what I did for the testing, that's coming up next. So thanks for watching if you're not going to continue. If you are, thanks for watching more. I mentioned to somebody that I was going to be doing or opening this bag of apples, which is from our batch 8, we think, from September 1st of 2017. And today is September 9th, 2024. So this is one of our oldest ones that we have left. We have a few that's slightly older, but nothing more than a month because we didn't have the machine for a month older than that. Anyway, we're going to open this, get the oxygen absorber out of that, and do a test on the oxygen absorber to see if it's still functioning after all these years, see if it can still pull more oxygen out. I know that the older ones took longer to start pulling oxygen out. The new ones, in a couple hours, that bag is really sucked down. It used to take like overnight. So anyway, we have this bag, different apples, but I had saved this bag from our last vacation trip because it had a zipper top and we had planned on putting these apples in there. So that's what I'll do. We'll take the oxygen absorber out, put it in the test chamber, add the water, and video that long term and see what happens. I also wanted to revisit these real quick. So these are the test packs that we had started, oh gosh, 7 months ago, and 7 or 8 months ago on some of these. So this is the oxygen absorber with a sensor in the glass jar, and the oxygen is still out, nothing changed. So none of them really changed. Just wanted to show that none of them got worse, none of them got better. Here's the one I used the regular Mylar bag, but I cut a window into it and then heat sealed a clear piece of Mylar on there, because Mylar doesn't have the silver stuff. Mylar is actually that plastic. The metallized just makes it far, far superior to just the clear. So I put that on there so I could see it and see how that holds up. And that's doing great. The 2-liter bottle, still perfect. I don't know if we can see that, but the sensor is still showing that the oxygen has not got back in there. And then these two, this is the seal meal type bag or a sous vide type bag, and it never went to full oxygen free. It got a little bit better and then just kind of stalled. And the regular freezer Ziploc type never did get to where these went back to pink. They stayed the purple color. Okay, we'll get this open, put it in there, and get the oxygen absorber that in there, and then get water in there. This is the same one we've used before, so you probably remember that. I drilled a hole at the 0 mark, and then 100, 200, 300, 400, and 441, and that's cc's of space. 441 represents if this entire thing is filled from that hole up with air, regular air, 441 cc's of it would be oxygen. So if the oxygen absorber has the ability, well, really, if it pulls anything up, that's good. I don't know what size oxygen absorber I was using back then, so I have no idea how much it even can pull up. Could it have ever done 441? I don't know. We'll see how far it goes, because that's the important part, is just to see, is it still functioning? And this is the bag from the Golden Delicious apples that we had out on the camping. And these are Galas. Okay, oh, those are beautiful apples. Get this taken care of first. So get that. Now slap this up. Okay. Okay. Wow, those are good. We'll snack those away in the next couple of days. And these are great bags. And this is pretty wrinkle-free. I don't see any pokes. So you could rinse this out, I suppose, and reuse it. I just wouldn't use it for anything critical. For another bag of apples would probably be just fine. So I'll put a weight on top of that. That'll keep it from floating up. And then we'll add the water in there. So the water is even with the beginning point on there. Then we'll try to keep that topped off, and we'll watch to see what happens. The water on the outside of there should go down, and it should suck it up on the inside. So let's go to time lapse. The water level is right in the middle of that line. So we'll keep watching it, and hopefully we'll get better information. I know that water is going in because the water is going down on the outside. You can see that edge there. Next time I do this, I'm going to try something a little different. Maybe it'll be easier to see. So let's bring this down. Okay, there. At this angle, at least I can see it. So we're at 200 oxygen absorbed so far. And as I mentioned, those older oxygen absorbers acted much slower. So that oxygen absorber was in there for a little over 7 years. I don't know what size it was even. Let's assume it was a 500 for the sake of argument. It was a quart bag, so about a liter. So that would be about 210 cc's of oxygen, and now it's at 200 more. So we'll come back and check this later and see what it's doing. It's about maybe 230 cc's. So it's slowly going up. Okay, so we're almost to 400 now. And again, I don't know what size oxygen absorber that was, but I'm going to guess it was 500. It's almost up to the 441, which is the maximum, assuming it takes all the oxygen out of that container. I'm going to go ahead and leave it go till tomorrow because nothing else is needed for this table tonight. But tomorrow it has to get off of here because, as you can see, we've been cleaning stuff because it's pizza making day. Finally back to check this, and you can see it made it all the way up to the 441. So the oxygen absorber pulled out all of the oxygen out of this container. That's the amount of oxygen in that container, approximately 21%. That oxygen absorber that was in the package of apples for 7 years was still able to pull out enough oxygen that was double the size that bag was. So that makes a total of 3 times that bag, the bag itself, and then this much. So this went the full 441, which is all of the oxygen. Now we're going to take this off, refill it with regular room air so that it's oxygen rich again, and then run it again to see how high it can go. Because the question was, how much can it still absorb? We know that it's good enough for a 2-liter container. Can it do more? So we'll check that. We're going to try this. For all the time before this, when I wasn't trying to record it, I didn't even put any food coloring because you can see it. It's just hard to see it on camera. So we should have fresh air in there again. Need to put the weight on top so it doesn't float up at all. And then we'll watch it. So it's up to the 0 line, which is where the hole is drilled. I'll keep this topped off, and we'll watch this again over time and see how far it comes up again. Yikes, I didn't realize it was so late. So it's 1:13 a.m. on the 16th, so way past bedtime. We'll come and check it again later, but right now, it's late. So it may not have put enough water in there last night, and it may have sucked some air through the hole, the 0 hole. Because it got up here today, and it's about at 240-ish. If I didn't suck air in it, then it'll still be able to pull some more. We'll see what happens. I decided to call the test complete when it hadn't changed measurably in 12 hours. I checked it again in the morning after another 12 hours, and I'm pretty sure it was done. The oxygen absorber had absorbed a total of over 1,050 cc's of oxygen, and it was rated at 500 cc's. As I mentioned earlier, I may have messed up at one point where it may have sucked in some air when the water got low, but I think we're okay. All of this just shows that the absorber was still working fine. When I started 7 years ago, I wasn't testing sample oxygen absorbers from each shipment of absorbers, so I don't know how much it could have absorbed when it was brand new. But the fact that it absorbed another 850 now, after it had been in the bag for 7 years, just shows how good the bag was at keeping oxygen from coming through. And that's what this is all about. Making sure that our food can't oxidize because the oxygen can't get to it. So thanks for watching and following along, and I know that this was a long video for such a little amount of information.